Hello again, Vintage Sewing Machine Garage viewers, and welcome back to the channel here. This is part 2 of my venture into the unknown. And I have been covering, because I discovered after quite a few hours of trial and error, that an ingenious mechanism that the white manufacturing company designed, they may have designed it with the assistance of the Japanese engineers who were making this, I don't know, but it was made in Japan for the white corporation. And again, it covers many different models. So if you have a white model 565, 568, like I have here, or maybe you have a 792, a 793, an 804, a 970, and if you have a model that has this setup that I didn't mention, please put it in the comments. I would love to add that to the video description. So this is now the procedure for putting these pieces back. They go in a certain direction and in a certain order, mostly. So I'll take this off the machine so it doesn't go anywhere. What do we have here? I'm going to show you all the little parts. I kept them in the cap. You might want to put them in something heavier. I find that plastic often easily goes flying because it doesn't weigh anything. So let's show you all of this. So if you have all of your parts together, they're going to look something like that. Okay, you're going to have this large spring. Okay, you're going to have two shims, a thin one, sort of the dark color on my machine, and then a thicker one that's sitting right next to it. Then you're going to have something called a roll. This is what White called it. It is actually a barrel. You can see it's gotten some magnetism from my magnet. Look at that, it's holding on. If I can get the shim off of here. All right. This is, come here, I do not want to lose you. This little roll, I'm going to put it on the magnet, folks, because the last thing I want to do is lose this while making the video. So this is the roll. I've stuck it on the end of the magnet, okay? I mean, it's tiny. Look at that, right? That piece is, again, all of these pieces, they go in just a specific place. There's no really wiggle room there. So get that out of there for a moment. And then, of course, you have this piece. This is called the slide, right? I showed this, put it there. I showed this earlier in part 1, okay? It's like a block of steel, and it is shaped in a certain way, and it has to go back a certain way. Put it there. You can probably see its shape, right? So again, I went over this in part 1, but just in case, the right side is flat. On the left side, it slopes down, it gets level, then it goes up 90 degrees and creates that little block shape. All of this matters in terms of this design working. And then the only thing else you have left, of course, you have the bolts, the two bolts that are going to hold the plate on. And there's the plate. So you need to have your plate. and of course the spring. Springs are amazing, right? They don't weigh much, and they go flying, and they can bounce all over the place. Thus my recommendation that just as when you were taking this apart, if you chose to do so, please remember to always have lots of terry cloth towels. I have it on the table that I've got the machine on, and they are surrounding the table as I showed in part 1. All right, so now we're going to reassemble this, and you will know if you have it right because your clutch mechanism should work beautifully unless there's something else going on with it, but it should work fine. Now I'm going to show you the first thing that goes in. The first thing that goes in are your shims. And remember, do you guys remember from part 1 when I took it apart? Which of these two slots do the shims go in? They go in the shim that is this way, okay? So if you're facing the machine like that from the side, okay? So if if this channel, I need a pointer, if this channel here is north-south, this will be east-west, okay? Just for point of reference so we don't get confused. So I'm going to take the first shim, that is the thinner shim, right? And it may be a darker color, but you'll be able to tell. There's a slight difference in how thick. Be careful with these. These are very thin pieces of steel. You don't want them bent. Treat them gently. I know they're steel, but there's not much to them. All right. The next shim is going to go right on top of it. Now, you may wonder, it's like, well, why are there two shims? Why didn't you just make one? There is a procedure that you can do. You can remove one of the shims, either the thin or the thick one, because sometimes people, if they've had problems with their clutch release, sometimes they can do that to adjust it. But I have not had any of those problems, so I'm putting. If you didn't, put your shims back. Don't leave them out. All right. What comes next? The next procedure is with the slide. Okay. Remember the slide that I showed you? All right, let's zoom in because I need you to see the shape is important because it has to go in an exact position, okay? It's not hard, you just need to know which way to turn it because if you don't, it's not going to work. So let's turn it like this just a minute so you can see the shape, right? So when you put this back in, the left side, remember, it's going to be going in the north-south channel, this way. The left side should be the straight side. The right side is the side that has the little, I call it the ramp or the dip, for lack of a better term, okay? So, remember, the top end of this slide, I call it the top end, is blocked off. That's the part that looks like a rectangle. And then it's flat, and then it ramps up. You want this piece to go into that north-south channel like this. Okay, it's on its side. Think of it like a profile, like a face in a profile, okay? Do not put it like that with the ramp side down. Do not put it with the flat side down so that it looks like that. No. You want it just this way. You want it like, get that hole out of there. It's maybe confusing. That is the way you want this piece to look when you put it into that slot. Let me zoom in a little more there for you. Okay? Again, this is not hard. It's just very specific. Now, I'm going to take this slide, okay? And I've already oiled, I put a drop of oil in the channel, so we should be fine there. Let's make sure that our view, got to watch my zoom here. Okay, so I'm going to take this, and I'm simply going to push it in this north-south slot, okay? And I'm going to stop right about there. Okay, I'll explain in a minute why. Now, this is the trickiest part. Are you ready? Get your magnet. Okay. Now, what I have noticed is it's not very powerful, but if you take a piece of steel and you put it on a magnet, right? It will develop some magnetism. And I'm not speaking in correct tech terms, but it tends to, and it doesn't last very long, but it can. You may have noticed that when I was pulling it up out of that little plastic cover. Now, this little bearing, okay, it is going to go in with the flat sides facing north-south, just like this channel, but it's going into the right side, okay, if that's west-east, it's the east side of this channel right here. Where's my pointer? It's this channel. Okay, whoops, almost pushed my my shims out there. It's going to go in this channel, and it is going to the flat ends of this little barrel. Sorry, the flat ends of the barrel are going to be. They're going to touch each side of this channel. Okay, so if you think of the barrel as a rolling bar, it's going to roll this way, okay? That's really important to note because if I put it in like that, okay, you know, the barrel is just slightly longer on the round side than it is than it is wide, okay? You think of it like that, like a log, like a little tiny little log, all right? So when you put it in, you want it to be put in on this axis like that, okay? So right here is the flat side, the other flat side stuck to the magnet, and the round side, whoops, is here, right? Like that. That's how you're going to install this. Yes, it can be done, I promise. This is why I think I used the word surgery or surgical. Now, what am I going to do here? I'm going to take, there are different ways you can do this. You can try to position this. Now that you know what position it's going in, you want to be able to get it there without losing it or having it going flying. Thus again, make sure you got your towels. Look what I'm doing here. I'm going to take, I've got my magnet, and I've got the little barrel piece on the end. Let's turn the machine, give you a somewhat better view of this, okay? I think I want to move the camera just a bit here for you so we can get a better zoom, because some of these things they get a little tough to see when you're too far away. There we go. Okay. So now you can see I've got, again, the flat end of the barrel one's on the magnet and the other flat end is right here. And I'm going to be putting this in here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move it to the channel, and then I'm just taking my thumb and pushing, right? And then I'm going, now I just got it in there, but it's not fully in. Don't worry, that's normal, believe me. These pieces are designed to move, but their tolerances are fairly tight, which is a good thing. Now, I'm going to take, you can take something like this. This is my little sewing, I don't know what kind of needlepoint tool, whatever this thing is. You can also take a screwdriver, okay? And what am I doing? It looks like chopstick effect here, but what I'm trying to do is get my barrel, right? I want it to be down in the channel in the right direction, nice and flush. Oh, almost got it. Okay. And then notice I pushed it in with one piece, and then I used this other piece to hold it down, right? Because it's got a little magnetic charge. The magnetic charge is actually not a bad thing, because it's going to want to stick to something other than, it might be slightly less likely to fly. I'll just say that. All right. So this is what we have here. We have and I'm pushing this in just a bit. This is what your piece should look like, okay? Now, this is extremely important to have set before you put the rest of it back together. When you have it like this, and if I want to, I can actually move this just a little closer there, okay? Notice if I want to push the barrel, I can actually push it up against the slide. Uh-oh, my little magnet. Thankfully, my finger's not magnetized. All right, so there you go. That is what this looks like, okay? We're putting it back together. This is how it was when we took it apart. Come here, camera. All right, so now I'll put a flashlight, make sure you can see this. So here's the little barrel bearing, and here's the slide, okay? The slide has gone in one way. The slide is actually on its side, and again, the rectangle blocked piece is in the back, and then the ramp that swoops up and stops, that is going to be on the end of the hub, okay? So remember, it has to go in this way. Don't get creative. There are times to be creative. This is not one of them. That's true with a lot of things mechanical, I have learned. All right, so what's left? We're going to put the rest back together, and then we will talk about basically, how to make sure that this is going to work correctly for you. And then in another video, again, I'll talk to you all about, you do not have to go through all this to get your motor belt off or replaced, thankfully. All right? So let's see. Now it's time to assemble the other parts. Okay, everyone, we've got a good side angle here. This is the best angle, I believe, to show you reassembling the rest of the machine. Now, again, the best way to do this, and this won't surprise any of you, is to always go back in the opposite way in which you disassembled. So what have we got left here? Let's take a look down. I'll show you. We have got our plate. We've got the two bolts that are going to hold the plate in. We have this this spring here that is going to hold the plate, help hold the plate in. And then we have in our cap here, we have the spring, and last but not least, the hand wheel. So let's get to it, and I'll show you the process. It's again, it will make sense as you see it done, but I have found over time that it can be helpful to see something instead of just have someone describe it to you, you know, in a paragraph or something. All right, so make sure, and I like to do this when I take the hand wheel off. Make sure that this square, remember the square channel that we've got our our long piece here. That slide, it's called the slide. It's the long metal piece with the interesting shape. So what you're going to do is make sure that the channel is at 12 o'clock. Don't do this. Do not turn the hub to the side or upside down. Because when I first took mine apart for the first time, I did that. It's just a hub. And the pieces went flopping around, and I had to pick up the pieces. Sorry for the pun. So save yourself that, right? I saw this and I thought, oh no. I want to make sure that any of my viewers or anyone who has this setup does not trip on the same banana peel that I did. All right, so here we go. We're going to first put the hand wheel back on, okay? Now, one thing you may have noticed, my viewers are very savvy, they notice things if I don't call them out. You'll notice that little blue ink, that's me, I put that on there. And when I was trying to understand this piece, I didn't know, I could tell that on the inside of this hand wheel, right below the ink mark here, there's a line, and it's a very shallow groove, very shallow. And I didn't know at the time. I thought, well, maybe this is important. Maybe I need to align it with something. Actually, now that I believe I understand how this system works, which is why I'm making these videos for you all, I think it's irrelevant, because what I think that is a weld spot. This piece is beautifully built, but I think at some point, you know, they had to, maybe there was just a mold or you know, a mold flashing that they had to take off. I have not come across anything that suggests that it has to line up with that mark, okay? You can if you want to, but it's neither here nor there. All right, so I'm going to take this, and oh, by the way, one thing you can also do while you're at it, since you come this far, what you want to do is take the hand wheel and just you can put like a drop or two here, and another one on the other side. You don't have to spread it around. When you put this hand wheel onto the hub, it's going to spread the oil for you. So it's not something you have to do. Now, what you want to do is remember all of these parts that I've been showing you above, they're sitting and they're happy. We don't get in a hurry and just slap the hand wheel on. You should never do that anyway, but people have been known to do worse. You take it and just gently, just slide it in, right? Now, it's actually pushing back. If that happens, sometimes it can happen. This ring should be flush with the hub, okay? So I don't know if you saw that. When I went to push it, it went bump. I turned it and then it went fine. Now, make sure that your parts haven't moved, and they have not, okay? So I'll zoom up here right fast and I'll show you, just because you may be thinking, oh no, he moved the parts. Here's the slide and here's the roll. The shims are underneath. Everything's fine. You might want to, you know, if you're not sure, you can always just gently slide the handle off and make sure, because those parts have to be where I've shown you. Believe me, I tried every other position, and it was, of course, the last one that worked. So again, I'm going to take the hand wheel and gently slide it, and this time it didn't give me resistance. Okay, what is our next step? It is the spring. The thing that that flew out at me when I first took this hand wheel off, and then of course I turned the hub and the other parts fell out. I wish I had videotaped that. That would make a great comedy video, but that's not the purpose of our channel. I'm not a natural at slapstick. It only happens when I don't want it to happen. So, okay, now remember when I was showing you the way when I was showing you taking the plate off, the same thing is going to apply here. Okay. Now, before I do this, by the way, I want to show you these bolts. I don't think I did that, and I want you to see this. So this is, I'm going to put it here to steady it. If you look at these bolts, they're the same size. Sewing machine bolts are not always the same size, but these are. Okay, and I'm going to have you look at that bolt. I'll hold it still for you. You see the threaded end there, right? Which is less than 1/4 of an inch. Maybe it's 5/16, I don't know. But look at the rest of it. You see the shape, right? That shape is important because that is what allows the disc. The disc can travel. It's not going to really travel much, but you see this wider section here? It is smooth, okay? It's when I see these things, I always think about countersinking screws, but that's not what this is. This is important because when the plate is put on, right? When you've got the plate on and you have the screw, obviously the threaded part goes through, but watch this. If I can get it in the right place for you to watch. Look at that. You see the screw, you see the threads, right? They go through, but so does the other part. Okay? So the plate can slide on this section here, not on the threaded section. And that is why you have these. Now I call it a stop washer, but I think I'm being a little overly simplistic. If you know a more technical term for it, let me know. I'll have to see what I can find out. But that is there. Do not take that silver, I call it a washer, off, because remember, when once you've installed the plate and you've got the bolts, remember that spring, right? Remember the dips I was showing you? Let me zoom back out a little bit. Remember these dips here? See how it dips down, right? That's going to push against. It's hard to see when I'm showing it head on. That's why I'm showing this to you. So when that screw, get the right angle here, and if I can be still enough to show what I'm trying to show. So you see the bolt, right? So the bolt's there. I've got my thumb and finger are actually, there we go. Okay, they're holding on to the threads. So this piece, this curved piece, is going to push against that bolt, right? And that's what's holding the spring in place under tension. So let's see if I can show you at this angle. Maybe that's a little bit better. Okay, you see that? Say we could if you turn the camera there, Mr. Director. You see that? See, there's the bolt. There was the bolt, right? So here's the bolt, and here is the spring. Okay, so if you're watching me take this spring off and put it back, you're like, well, what is he doing? Because it's not easily seen. That's why I'm showing you. You're hoping that this will be a better illustration, so that when you're pushing this U-shaped spring back on, this curved area on each end of the spring is pushing against the smooth part of that bolt. Okay, and that's how it goes on. So that's what the engineers want, and that's what they're going to get if we're going to make this work. So, okay, everyone. I wanted to shift some things here because I need to lower the camera. And I believe it finally occurred to me after sitting there telling you I didn't know what those washers were. These are not washers. I think they're technically called this little silver C-shaped piece on the end of the bolt. Those are called lock rings. I think that's what they're technically called. You may call them something else. I call them a stop washer, and it's not actually a washer because it doesn't go all the way around. Lock ring is what it's called. But the whole point is that when the disc when the bolt and the spring come together, right? So if you see as I was showing you before, come here. What are you doing? There we go. As I was showing you before, the spring is resting against the smooth part of this bolt. But you don't want the spring, show it from this angle here, you don't want the spring flying off, right? So that lock ring keeps it in place. Hopefully this will make sense when I put it back. All right, now, so we're almost done. Hang in there. All right, if you are doing this, you can, I'm doing it by myself, but it might or may not help to have another set of hands. So I'm going to take my plate. You can, now the pressure is going to be higher here where the spring is, so I'm just going to take my bolt, and I'm going to try to do the one at the bottom. You may not have to, but I think it helps me. So I haven't pushed hard on the spring yet, but I'm lining up my bolt, and I'm just turning it with my fingers. Okay, haven't really gotten anything really accomplished yet. And whoops, did you hear that? That was the spring. That was the spring that decided it wanted to go flying. So again, I wasn't kidding when I said this is like a Jack-in-the-Box toy, one of those old vintage toys. I think my dad had one as a child. Okay, so if that does not work for you, hopefully it will work for you better than it is working for me at the moment. All right. Again, thus the thing about two hands. Here's another way to approach this. Notice I got this screw started. So what am I going to do? I'm just going to, I'm not putting it all the way in, but I'm going to turn this bolt, right? I don't want to tighten it too much. I want to be able to move the disc. But now, right, it should be threaded enough where that lower bolt is not going to come off, right? And we know that the plate can slide on the bolt. There we go. So what am I doing? I'm going to put the spring back. Got to have that. Now I'm going to swivel the plate up. And I'm going to line it up with the other bolt hold there. It's almost like, what is it? Somewhere around 11 o'clock. I'm going to take the other bolt and I'm going to start turning it. Okay. And as is true with any time you put a bolt back, you should know, of course, that if it turns smoothly, you know it's threaded properly. If it fights, like a dog won't let go of a toy, stop, because you're cross-threading. I haven't really had that problem with this because I took this apart many times in order to figure out exactly how this thing is supposed to work. All right. So we've got the lock rings. We got this plate. We got the spring in there. What's left? We had the spring on the other side of the plate, but don't forget this. Again, this is a very simple thing to install when you realize you know how it installs. So give a little zoom here. We got like a black spring. There we go. So remember, we've got those two smooth, thicker areas of the bolt. I find it easier to do that one. And then take the spring, hold on with both hands here, and bend it, don't snap it, and then voila, you have installed the spring. All right. The only thing left, and you don't have to do it right away, you want to test and make sure it's working before you put the cap back and pop the champagne and celebrate. Let's not do that. So let's see. I'm going to show you. Obviously, this is one of the easiest things you'll ever do to test on your machine, is to see, hey, is my clutch mechanism working or not? All right. What we're testing here, I haven't replaced this tire yet, but that's a whole nother procedure. But let's look at the machine head on, right? You know that when your bobbin winder is not turned on or engaged, right? When you turn your hand wheel, right? The needle's turning, the needle bar. Right now it has a broken needle. This machine had a moment I've got to fix. But anyway, you see this, right? You see it going on, right? Seems to be. Let's do that. There we go. Okay, right? And I'm not forcing it. The hand wheel is moving fine, but I've got total engagement of the needle bar. Okay. Now, if this works, if I did it correctly, if you did it correctly, right? Just push this up, and the tire will touch the hand wheel. That's pretty common now. Now watch what happens when I turn the hand wheel. It's spinning, the needle is not. Hooray! Now let's disengage, right? Just to be sure. Now turn the hand wheel. There you go. You know something? I have to give it to the engineers. I am in awe of the people who figured out how to do this. They came up with a system that would work reliably. And they didn't have the benefit or the curse of a microelectronic board. They did it all mechanically. So it never ceases to amaze me, not just the quality, which you all hear me go on and on about all the time, but they were clever. They were really innovative. And it's a good thing because any cleverness we have, we get from our ancestors. So there you go, right? From all the generations before us who took the technology they had and did something clever with it. And I'm just, you all know how much I love these machines anyway. So one last thing to do. And it's not an unimportant thing. You may have gotten this far and said, yes, it's working. This is awesome. And you go to put the cap on, right? The cap goes on, not unlike what they used to call a hubcap on the side of a car. Now, it holds on. Remember, it's plastic. Be gentle. Don't smack it with a hammer. Please don't do that. You will be very unhappy when it crumbles. And I wouldn't even just whack it with your hand, okay? Look what I'm doing, okay? I'm just pushing it in with my thumbs. Nice. And it shouldn't go anywhere, okay? And that is that. So if you ever have a machine and you manage to get that cover off, that plastic cap, and you saw, or maybe you took yours apart. I sometimes wonder how many machines end up in the landfill because people couldn't figure out how to put it together and they gave up. And it is frustrating when you're so excited to fix something, you're like, oh no. And then you think, well, maybe I'll take it to a sewing machine center. The sewing machine center may say, well, we don't work on machines that old, or we don't have parts, go away. Or maybe you are lucky and you have someone in your community that works on machines that are vintage, but they may never have seen this one. And even if they have the service manual, it doesn't mean they're always going to be able to know how to figure it out. But you know something? All of us working together, sharing information, learning, we can all figure it out. It may take some time, some blood, some sweat and tears, but it's not impossible. Many of you have gone online, whether it was my channel or one of the other wonderful channels out there, and you've gone looking for answers because you want to save your machine. And I really admire you because I think you understand how valuable and incredible they are. And I hope that this video, this two-part series, I hope that it has saved some of you some aggravation and hopefully saved the landfill from filling up with more things that can just keep going and going. Thank you all for supporting this channel. Please feel free to subscribe if you have not, and I will see all of you in the next video. And that next video, I promise, will be, because I did say I would show all of you how in the world do you change a motor belt without having to do all of this mess and take all of this apart. We're going to talk about that in the next video. Take care, everyone.